Hello, my name's Jackie T and welcome to Pinch Harmonics 101. Firstly, during this course there's going to be no technical jargon. You should be able to understand everything I say. There's nothing worse than getting a lesson where you don't understand things. I'm going to keep it as simple as possible for you to understand and get a result, which is you playing pinch harmonics. There'll be follow-up courses to this. However, they're not needed to do 99% of where these apply. They're just more technical avenues with pinch harmonics. The goal of this course is to get you playing pinch harmonics and not delve into these more complicated, nuanced areas that would actually never really be used in a real life situation. Pinch harmonics by themselves can be used. The technical alternate picking pinch harmonics and everything like that, that's a completely different thing. We're beginning with the basics, hence Pinch Harmonics 101. This is the basics. We're getting to the root of what a pinch harmonic is and how to apply one. Additionally, I won't be using a direct line in from my bass guitar. The reason I'm using the camera audio is because I believe that there's a lot of acoustic elements that come into play here that really need to be addressed. If I do a direct line, you won't be able to hear them. Now, I've also decided to use old strings during this course because some people don't have direct access to new strings. Now, if you have rusty strings, please get new strings in general. However, older strings is not a concern. You'll hear me be able to use pinch harmonics regardless of that. You won't need a 5-string bass for this course. Everything is in standard and applicable to a 4-string bass. There are many ways to do pinch harmonics on bass guitar. However, for this, we're going to be using just a guitar pick and what I believe is the easiest technique to play a pinch harmonic. Now remember, this course is about access to the pinch harmonic. This is about how to do them. Not just that, it's about the context of them. So let's dive in. Firstly, you're gonna need a plectrum. I use a Ducetto Picks Def Bite in 0.88 millimeters. Secondly, high distortion is needed and a compressor helps a lot. Now when it comes to my bass, I'm gonna be running everything completely on the bridge pickup and none of the EQ will be touched. Volume will be completely maxed out. That's about it. All right, with all that said, here's an example of the tone I am using during the course. I won't be changing anything about the parameters of this. So here's my tone. Now the plectrum you use is completely up to your preference. I prefer a thin one when it comes to these kind of things, and it's easier for me to give a percussive sound when it comes to thinner picks and thick strings. Let's begin the lesson. This is Pinch Harmonics 101, the beginning. Holding your pick can have a massive impact on your tone, and we're going to talk about that firstly. During my time as a professional guitar pick maker at Ducetto Picks, there's a few ways to hold picks I've noticed. However, we're going to go with what the most consistent one is and what I see the most. So the way I hold my pick is like this, right? And that's usually the way most people play with their guitar picks. Now, how do I use that with the strings? This is where it starts to get a bit of fun. Let's get into it. So when I am playing, I do not pick flat. This is very important to note. My pick, as you can see there, becomes slightly angled. Now you will hear the difference in this in tonality. This is very important. That's flat. That is slightly angled. Let's hear them side by side. Picking angle is something I'm going to explore in a completely different course called hyper-aggression, picking on bass guitar. Now, we're not going to go into that too much today. However, let's hear it in context and with pinch harmonics. We're going to start with just one note, the E note, which is on the A string. 7th fret, A string, let's hear it as a pinch harmonic. Everything you just heard was on the exact same fret of the exact same string. Pinch harmonics have a lot of variation when it comes to tonality and the note that's being produced. However, for the sake of the video, we're not going to focus too much on what note we're producing. We're going to focus on producing a pinch harmonic. That's what this course is about, getting results. So we get to the meat and potatoes here. How do we do it? Now we begin by hitting a note on the slight angle as discussed before to get that more aggressive sound. Let's just hit the string, 7th fret, A string. That's the note you should be producing. Now to produce a pinch harmonic, we want to slightly graze the string with our thumb on our picking hand as we come down. And it's going to produce a sound like this. Now, that might be tricky at first. So how do we go about it? I strongly recommend with your picking hand, playing the note. And slowly bringing your thumb closer and closer with each strike. You can do it slowly if you like, or faster. So this is what it'll sound like. You can hear it slowly morph to a pinch harmonic. There's two parts of difficulty that we need to address here. The first is the pinch. The second is the location of where we pinch. So again, you may be using the correct technique. You may be pinching correctly. However, your area along here may be incorrect. So what you should do is move from the neck to the bridge with your pinch technique. So you get that slow, gradual movement to your thumb, and it has to be one motion, like that. One motion. It's not two separate. It's not da onto your thumb. It is one. As we bring our thumb to this, we want to try that all along from the fretboard all the way to the bridge. There's multiple locations in which a pinch harmonic can be applied. You'll hear it right now. Nearly all along there, a pinch harmonic can be heard, but there are sweet spots. Now remember, the 7th fret of the A string is the note we're going for, and explore. Strongly recommend before continuing this course that you can make pinch harmonics happen, because we are about to go into a different context completely. We're about to delve into the application. If you're making that sound, the pinch harmonic, please continue on. If not, revisit and apply that sound. High distortion and a compressor are key. Also, if applicable, use the bridge pickup. Now we're going to begin applying this to a simple riff. The only note we're going to add is an E to match our E. Here's the riff. I'm going to play it slowly. However, I'm going to include a tab. It's going to help a lot. This riff is only 2 notes, however, we're using the context of a riff to bring out what a pinch harmonic is and apply it. Please allow yourself to memorize that riff alongside the tab. It is very important. Now remember, when you do the pinch harmonic, you want to be slightly more aggressive with the pinch harmonic. The reason being is it brings it out more. You want to accentuate that. The pinch harmonic is used for a dynamic grip on the riff itself. Don't overuse it throughout your songwriting. However, using it a lot in occasional riff really boggles the mind at times. The hardest thing about the riff is that you've got 2 notes. You don't want them to cross over. We're dealing with high distortion, which means that there's a lot of muting that needs to occur. Muting is essential when it comes to this. I mute a lot with both my left hand and right hand. However, I've written in the notes to the course before you bought this that muting is essential. It's a basic skill, and that should be learnt before a lot of things when it comes to the instrument. Now when it comes to muting this, you don't want this sound. It becomes very hard to control that low E. We need to cut it off completely. Now the next part of this course becomes more difficult. We're going to add in string skipping. We're going to retain the E note. However, we're going to add it onto the D string. This will be the 2nd fret. Let's see what it sounds like. Same note, it's simply an E. However, the location actually makes us choose differently for the pinch harmonic. Interesting, right? Much like the first segment, I continually recommend on the 2nd fret of the D string, the E note, finding where the pinch harmonic is. Remember, you're going to have to explore here. We've changed positions. It's the same riff, but it's different. Again, I recommend exploring where the harmonic is before adding in the 2nd segment. There's a lot of tonal variation there. Find what works for you. Remember, this is about getting results, not the exact tonality of the pitch. That can be explored later. So let's hear the riff again. And let's look at that in context of the 7th fret of the A. Hear the difference. We have a thinner string and it's a different location. Now remember, you may have to change positions. That's what this part's about. However, I'm going to make things more complicated. We're about to journey into using the G string and a pinch harmonic there. Before we move on, make sure that you have that last segment down, please. It's about to get a lot harder. We're about to add in the 9th fret of the G string. That's a big skip from the E to this E. Wow, that's hard, even for me. Keeping the muting going and keeping that tonality, it's very difficult. Remember, the riff is staying the same. The only thing that's changing is string skipping and listening and applying that the E note that you play on the A, the D, and the G string actually sound different when we do pinch harmonics there. You can add that into your riffs in different ways. It doesn't have to be chugging an open note. But the pinch harmonics that you do need to be applied in different ways. Typically, the high notes for me, they sound great, but it's the context that matters, which is why we're doing the exact same riff to train our ear and train our hands, that the pinch harmonic we do on there, and there are completely different places when it comes to applying it. Now, again, it's important to remember that you may need to move your hand up and down to find the sweet spot. Everything you do on this instrument is going to be muscle memory at some point. The same applies to pinch harmonics. That's what we're looking for. And the results are what will get you that muscle memory. Nearly forgot the word. Now we're near at the end of the course. Hopefully by now you've got the tonality down and you can do a pinch harmonic on those 3 strings, the A, the D, and the G. So that's the 7th fret of the A, the 2nd fret of the D, and the 9th fret of the G, which are all E notes. Now, the riff we've been playing, the final exercise is where this gets tricky. However, it's integral to applying this. Try bouncing between each one while chugging. Go as slow as you need to, and changing positions is where it comes important. You could also try doing a semitone between notes. What you'll have to do there is slide a tiny bit towards the bridge if you go up a semitone. If you go down, do the opposite. Explore around with it, have fun, be creative. By this point, you should have the building blocks of pinch harmonics. Please revise these things, please go over them. If you don't get them, remember it's muscle memory, and to be honest, it's quite abstract to apply. What you're doing doesn't have a position marker. That is hard. Everything else associated, sweep picking, selective picking, arpeggios, anything. We have these markers to go off. We do not have that when it comes to pinch harmonics unless you reference pickups and that kind of position, which changes from bass to bass. It's what makes it hard. If you do not have any of this down by now, I strongly recommend you stay on part 1. The A string, the 7th fret. Play around again down these positions. This hand stays the same the entire time. You don't have to worry about it. Remember, you want to lightly graze with your thumb, 1 motion. My name is Jackie T. Thank you so much for supporting me.